the 1993 overall PBA World Champion in the men's division, with a first in waves, a first in horse racing, and a first in slalom, Bjorn Dunkerbeck.
When Bjorn was just 8 years old, he and his family moved from their home in Denmark, here to the Spanish island of Gran Canaria, off the northwest coast of Africa. Being competitive windsurfers themselves, his parents, Eugene and Ulla, quickly established their own surfing school in this busy yet beautiful location. That was to become the home of the 6 times world champion, Bjorn Dunkerbeck. Bjorn loved the island, discovered windsurfing, and soon learnt his skills on the waves of Gran Canaria.
Windsurfing has been part of my whole family's life ever since I can remember. Of course, the windsurfing then was a lot different than it is now. It was one big sail, heavy board, about 25 kilos. Very simple, but I still loved windsurfing and loved to go to the beach. And they opened the windsurfing center straight away when he got there. We used to go racing in local races like once in a while, like once a month or once every second month or twice in a month, and in Canaries. Also, my mother took me to the Spanish Championships because she was racing herself. So, obviously, when I was going to race World Cup, bigger races, they weren't going to say, no, you cannot do it, because they loved windsurfing as much as I did. And they thought it was a great opportunity for me to travel the world and do the circuit.
I think it was about when he was 12, 13 years old. He surfed on the big boards at the time, and how he was surfing on them, you could see he was just growing up with this sport, and it was in his body.
In 1984, at the tender age of just 15 and still at school, Bjorn made his World Cup debut in Scheveningen in Holland. It was here that he would come face to face and compete against his hero, the Hawaiian superstar Robbie Nash, who'd just won the first World Tour the previous year and was now set to retain the title.
He was extremely talented. He kept following me around trying to do everything I did. I went home. We made him a board, in fact, to bring back to the Canaries because the first World Cup on the tour that ever took place was in the Canaries. So I brought this board back to give to him, to try and get him to be a sponsored rider. But unfortunately, his dad had already signed him up with F2.
Robbie had just missed out on sponsoring Bjorn. On a trip to Austria, Bjorn was signed to a one-year contract by the board and sail producer F2. There was a clause added to it by his parents, though. If he didn't do well that year, he'd have to go back to school. Well, what more encouragement does a 15-year-old boy need to try his hardest?
Well, I would say I looked up to Robbie. I thought he was a very, very great windsurfer. There was a couple other ones. Then all of a sudden I was racing against him and I kind of lost that hero feeling and haven't really not gotten any hero feelings for anybody else since then.
There's no question he's one hell of a competitor. Very driven, very professional, very prepared, and obviously as well very competitive. He's pretty much dominated everything we've done for the past several years, and he's done what it takes to continue to stay ahead with material preparation and with training. But he's also grown, to the perfect size for two of our disciplines anyway. and he hasn't let his size become a disadvantage in wave performance, which is not easy as well.
Bjorn excelled in all three disciplines, but it would be his wave duels with Nash that would draw the crowds. It was in the '93 O'Neill Tenerife PBA Wave Grand Prix that the two would meet. And as always, both men had to pull out all the stops. Nash won the first final, then Bjorn won the second, and it was all down to the decider. Bjorn still has to go for everything against Robbie. Even a clue-first back loop is brought out of the bag. Bjorn went on to win. He's truly moved on from being the pupil to being the master. Robbie had been world champion for 5 years before Bjorn stepped on the scene, and now, like Robbie was to Bjorn, Bjorn is to today's windsurfing kids. He's simply the best.
So overall, he's damn good. I wish he wasn't quite so good,
As prize money grows and sponsorship becomes more sought after, the pressure on the professional rider increases in turn. The sailor needs a strong competitive nature, one goal, one vision.
We've been fighting for first position, especially in slalom, for all the years I've been racing. He was world champion in slalom in '87, and I was like third or fourth. The year after I won it, and I won it all the other years after that. In some race he's very fast and I'm very fast, so it's always one guy who's going to win and one guy's going to be second. In many occasions been us too. We used to be friends a long time ago, and then some stuff happened and we don't really talk too much with each other anymore. I guess that can happen in any sports. Up at the top spots it's very cold, If you have the possibility to win and you always just don't make it, then you kind of build up an aggression in yourself. And I kind of can understand that. So racing is getting tougher all the time. There's more races, there's more prize money in it, there's much more attention on it, so everything is more professional. And the more professional it gets, it's a bad thing about the sports, the colder it gets. It's a small family sport, everybody's friendly with each other, no matter if they win or lose. The bigger it gets, the colder it gets.
Both Bjorn and Anders are strong competitors. If either one makes a mistake, you can be certain the other will be there to take advantage. In '93 though, no one could take advantage of this man as he got stronger and stronger. At the moment there's no true threat to his dominance in either slalom or course. Maui in Hawaii, the mecca of windsurfing and the proving ground of the best wave sailors in the world. Bjorn now has a house here in order to get the best conditions year-round.
I think there's 3 very nice places for windsurfing in the world, depending on which time of year. Usually big waves always in the winter, no matter if it's Hawaii or Canary Islands, and the stronger winds are in the summer. So the best windsurfing conditions at home, for example, is February, March and April, because you get quite big waves and you get quite strong winds too. And also October, November are really excellent here. In the winter time, there's Western Australia is really good. So you have to kind of go around where the trade winds and where the big waves are. See, this is what we windsurfers listen to most of the time.
There's really only one thorn in his side when it comes down to competing in the waves. It's Australian Jason Polackow. The 1993 Peter Stuyvesant Travel Aloha Classic, they met for the second time that year in the wave final. Being the most prestigious wave title of the year, both men dearly wanted to win. And in the first round, it's Bjorn who steps up a gear to take the honours. Jason claws his way back in the second round of the double elimination to meet Bjorn. Bjorn tries everything he knows, as does Jason. Both of them go for the biggest air. It's what the judges want to see, and Jason wins the Aloha. It's a blow for Bjorn, though he has some consolation. He wins the PBA wave crown.
He's always out there sailing, he's always out there practicing, so, you know, no one can dispute him for being, you know, a slack sailor, and he does deserve to be the world champion.
Bjorn always goes for the biggest moves possible, whether it's 4-foot and blown out mush or mast high and cross shore. In Japan this year, Omazaki was the venue for the sometime World Cup. Again, Bjorn met Jason in the final, and a duel for airspace and wave supremacy ensued. But again, it was Bjorn who had to swallow the bitterest pill.
That's it for the day anyway, huh? Yeah.
In 1991, Bjorn felt the need for speed.
Slalom sailing and speed sailing is kind of similar, because whoever's the fastest guy is the guy who wins. The only main difference is that in slalom you compete against 7 other guys. Whenever you're in front, you can kind of relax and don't have to push yourself anymore. And speed sailing is that you have to push yourself for 500 meters no matter what happens, if there's chop, if there's wind gusts, if there's lows. It's just against the watch. So it's very different, and you got to push yourself the whole time.
Switching away from the race circuit for one event at Tarifa in Spain, Bjorn made this run, and despite wiping out at the end of the course, blasted his way into the record books, setting a new open water speed record. Having turned the speed world on its head, Bjorn left it until July 1993, when he returned to the now famous course at Tarifa in an attempt to push back the limits of speed sailing. He pushed them all right to breaking point. He couldn't set a new record this time, but did still manage to win the event overall with consistently fast runs. After 2 years out of speed sailing, he'd still upstaged the experts.
Charlie, how are you? Good morning.
Okay, for everybody who says in the World Cup, I think the final goal is to win it. If you don't want to win it, you don't even have to start.
Maybe I've got a very good shaper, I've got a very good sail designer. My sponsor is supporting me, so when I do something on development, it usually goes in the right way. So that motivates you and makes it a lot easier.
Peter Tommen from Switzerland has shaped boards for F2 since 1985 and has been with Bjorn since the start. His shapes are always in demand.
He tells me what his sensations on the water, and he doesn't try to get too technical, which is really nice. So that leaves me the room to design the board around what he says and not trying to fix a design I made with his ideas. That's probably one of the major mistakes other racers do. They tell their shaper exactly what they want in terms of millimeters or more lock or less rock or whatever. Whereas Bjorn just tells me, I want this in a board, period.
We started together, we built a pretty good friendship, and that's thing that's important to get the best boards out of it. And that really helps us, so he knows what I feel in the water.
Bjorn also does a lot of R&D on his sails. And like his boards, his input and knowledge is invaluable as each sail manufacturer races to produce the best. All the latest technologies are introduced as the industry itself develops with the riders and their abilities.
The sails are getting easier to handle, so you can, like I said, with 2 fingers instead of being holding on, pulling on one side, pulling in the front, pushing in the back. They're going faster, the booms are shorter, the masts are longer, and they're much more stable and easy to sail with.
Without doubt, he's one of the most talented and brilliant windsurfers ever. And after 6 years at the top, what do his rivals think of him?
He's got an incredible will. He's really, really concentrated, I believe. And he's a strong sailor as well, which is important.
He's very good professionally, he does the job perfectly, and I'd say he's going to be a very tough competitor to beat in the future. And not only has he been in the past, but he's still very young, so he has a long way to go.
He's a machine. Everything's perfect.
He trains like anything. He's strong, he's big. I don't know, he's just a machine. That's what makes him so good. No fear, no guts, no nothing. He's like, everything's mechanical and he'll do whatever he wants to do.
While competing, he may be concentrated and machine-like, but when he breaks away, he'll kick back and do something different. Well, almost different, but he's never far from the surf. If Bjorn does get away from the water though, you still won't find him in front of the TV with a handful of chocolate bars. He'll be staying fit and having fun, mountain biking or some other thing that gets the blood pumping.
I do quite a lot of mountain biking. I do a lot of surfing, a lot of windsurfing, and that keeps me pretty fit. Windsurfing alone keeps you very fit. It's good to do other alternative sports just to build up your muscle groups, but so far it's been working. The first time I came world champion, I said, yeah, okay, this is a very nice feeling. The second time was even better. The third time was probably the best. Once you knew there wasn't as much luck involved as the first time maybe. But now I've done it 6 times. It didn't really change much of a feeling since the 5th time. I always try and go out there and win every contest, and if I do that, then I ultimately become world champion again. I don't feel threats by anything. Lots of good sailors, yeah, but whoever wants to beat me and become world champion has to work hard for it. It's gonna get lots more radical every year. There's no limits in windsurfing whatsoever, and speed and jumping high and surfing your wave more radical. And that's one good thing about windsurfing, that there's just no limits. Just dropping in on a double master and a half wave is just a kick. I mean, there's so much water moving. It's like swimming pools, 10 swimming pools moving all the time. And you just feel the power so much more than in a small wave.